Hello, I'm Carrie Ann Nadeau, founder of ODN, and we're back with Profiles in Risk, a podcast that enlightens the world of risk around you. Each episode, we explore insurance through the stories and experiences of the most influential thought leaders, product developers, and entrepreneurs modernizing the insurance industry. You can find more content at odnsure.com/thegolfcourse or show notes on insnerds.com. Enjoy this episode. So welcome back to this episode in Profiles in Risk. I'm your host, Carrie Ann Nadeau. We're doing a very special episode this time. We're at the Hartford Insurtech Hub, powered by Startup Bootcamp, and we're interviewing founders like this gentleman sitting next to me, Panya Chheng, who's going to tell us more about his company and participation in the Startup Bootcamp here in Hartford, Connecticut. We'll be joined by each founder to do a brief little introduction to their company and share with us the mission, vision, and values that their company stand for. You can look for more information on Panya's company as well as any other company featured in this podcast in the notes below. We're going to link to their LinkedIn, their website, any materials that they're able to share. So if you are looking for Panya's contact information or any of the information of the folks on today's podcast, definitely check them out below. So again, this is Carrie Ann Nadeau, founder of ODN and host of Profiles in Risk. Welcome to the show, Panya.
Hi, Carrie Ann.
Oh, you have the most amazing podcast voice.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm not sure anyone has told you that before, but it's a fantastic voice for podcasts.
So it's very nice to hear.
So you are the co-founder and CEO of Medyear, a company that is innovating in healthcare and insurance. Mm-hmm. So maybe you could kick off the podcast a little bit, set up some context. Not our audience isn't so familiar with the healthcare industry. So what's happening in the healthcare industry and how does Medyear fit in?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's great to be here, and
Pleasure.
Thank you for hosting me, and thanks for spending time with us here in Hartford. The Accelerator has been great, and has been great to us, so thank you to Accelerator folks for setting up this podcast. A lot is happening in healthcare right now. It's not just about Obamacare. There's a lot of other things happening legislatively at a federal health reform level.
Is most healthcare reform happening at a federal level, or is this a state's issue as well?
Most is happening at a federal level.
Okay.
There are a few state-by-state issues. We'll get to that in a second. But the point is, everyone's affected. We all have like lives that depend on our healthcare. I equate healthcare to a survival need. Like food.
So basic
shelter,
necessities.
Yeah, like if you don't have healthcare, your survival is questionable. So what's happened in the past, decade is a major wave of health reform driven by the prior administration, the Obama administration. So it started with what's known as the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, aka Obamacare. But it didn't stop there. So what the ACA did was it created this marketplace for you to be able to just buy insurance if you needed to at an affordable rate, like as if you had insurance through an employer. But in this case, you could get insurance even without an employer, so that opens you up to more possibilities, right? So nonetheless, we managed to insure a lot more people this way. But then there are 3 other laws that came into effect recently that also shape how you interact with your healthcare. The second law that followed the ACA was something known as meaningful use. The third piece of legislation that came along was something known as MACRA. Now, the fourth and final piece of legislation is something known as the 21st Century Cures Act. This is incredibly important for consumers because what it does is it enables the free flow of your digital records into applications you control, like Medyear. So the 21st Century Cures Act was one of the last laws that President Obama signed. It was a bipartisan bill, so that then was quite extraordinary, and it really is now paving the way for you to basically get your records at the touch of a button. Now, if I need to see someone, I'm not captive to the system. A classic example would be Kaiser Permanente.
Mm-hmm.
Via their app, you can message your doctors, you can see your records. It's all great, but once you leave Kaiser, you lose that capability.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine maintaining that same level of experience where your records are all there. And this is very important, right? Because when you go to see a new doctor, if they're not there, that can trigger medical errors, mistakes. At the very minimum, sometimes you have to do duplicate tests, which are very annoying, and they cost the insurance industry $100 billion a year.
Wow.
In duplicate tests. Meanwhile, 17% of medical errors are due to not having the information.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people being hurt by not having information, which is why Congress acted. They viewed this as ultimately like a civil right, because the thing is, information dictates primarily the economic power. So who has the health data has the power. If your hospital has all the data, and it's data that's not exactly easy to get, like you have to stick a needle in your arm to draw blood to get your lab results, that's not easy data to get. So they've captured it, and they're hoarding it. They're holding on to it because then you can't leave. You have to
stick with
them. But
so you're really enabling a lot of consumer choice, a lot of consumer control of our own data, which is a huge topic across industries, not just healthcare, right? This is just one facet of a broader
facet. Yeah, and I think the key is that now, also because of the financial reforms through MACRA, now insurers have to accept this world in which the consumers making bad choices, they're on the hook for it. Like if I have to go to a new doctor and I try to get a surgery done and the doctor doesn't know what's going on completely, doesn't have a full picture, it could end badly.
Sure.
So if I'm an insurer and I'm saying, hey, these consumers now, I'm on the hook to just keep them healthy, let's make the next thing is like, well, how do I keep them healthy? They need their records. They need to have all their stuff in one place so that when they do need some medical treatment, it doesn't fall through, something doesn't fall through the cracks and this doesn't end badly.
So this may be controversial, but if I own my medical data, then I can decide who to give it to as well.
It's not controversial. It's provided to you under HIPAA. You have the right to do whatever you want with it.
Can an insurance carrier demand that information?
They can request it. They also have ways to get information on their own as well. I think that, when insurers look at what's now possible, they'll be clever about incentivizing ways for people to share that information. I think it'd be very useful to foster a healthy relationship between a member and their insurance carrier. Now that digital information is readily available and you have that, you have the kind of medium established, it's usually on a phone. This is your opportunity.
So if our audience is looking for more information about Medyear, where can they go?
Well, they can go to medyear.com.
Okay.
And they can go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store and download the app and start using it. Right now, we connect to, last count is 297 health systems. So that's all. By the time you guys see this podcast, it'll be probably over 300. And that's about 2,600 hospitals across the country. And then, you can also message 960,000 doctors through the Medyear Plus premium app. And so then that's how you get it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, if you would like to reach out to Panya Chheng, please do click on his LinkedIn, send him a direct message, maybe include your email address too, so folks can reach out direct to learn more about Medyear. But thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you. hello@medyear.com.
hello@medyear.com.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to
That's
get it.
friendly.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Panya, it's been a pleasure to have you on today's podcast.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing more about Medyear, and I look forward to hearing more at conferences and events where I think you're going to be present to share more about your mission and vision. Yeah,
we're going to be talking about health reform again, so stay tuned. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, that issue is not going away.
No, it's not.
All right, this has been Profiles in Risk. We'll see you back soon. Well, welcome to the show. This is Profiles in Risk with Carrie Ann Nadeau, your host, CEO and co-founder of ODN. Joined this morning by a very special guest. This is Jay Pugliese. He is the co-founder and VP of Business Development for a company called CareValidate. They're building a hardware that's going to help insurance carriers better monitor and prevent claims for senior citizens by putting sensors in light bulbs. I'm really excited to hear more about the technology, so welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Carrie Ann.
Yeah, Jay, I think my first question for you is there's a lot of this new sort of in-home technologies, particularly focused on senior living. Can you tell us a little bit more about the market? Why is this such a robust opportunity for CareValidate to enter? And what sort of problems do you think you might be able to solve with your technology?
Right now, there is no easy or private way to capture the safety, health, and care delivered to a senior patient, either in homes or senior living institutions.
Okay. So if your core value propositions are health, safety, and care, can you tell me a little bit about how your product delivers on making seniors healthier, safer, and caring for them and their families?
So what we're really excited about at CareValidate is we've solved for a few issues by putting a host of sensors into a light bulb. So we take away the charging aspect, the wearable aspect, and all the compliance that is associated with these type of technologies. To go a step further, our health bucket, we monitor things like vital signs. So our sensors can track heart rate, respiration rate, and we can even map sleep quality. And all these events are huge predictors for adverse events in the future.
Wow.
In our care bucket, we've identified 5 key metrics or activities that cause 90% of the claims in senior living. Those are falls, ulcers, assault, abuse, and elopement, which is like wandering in dementia care units.
Oh, okay.
So we use human activity recognition to really define what the caregivers are doing when they're inside a senior's home and or senior living facility.
Oh, wow. So a couple things to pick up on here. One thing that really stuck out to me in the first bucket, the health bucket, is the idea that it's already plugged in, that it's already charging. And I hadn't thought about that being a really important component for these sorts of devices in seniors' homes, that they might lose their charge. So can you tell me a little bit more about why is that a core value proposition of CareValidate and why that's important for seniors?
I think it's really important, and it is a core value for us because we need to really do better on the compliance of these products. A lot of our competitors, while doing great work, and we agree with their mission, obviously, we're in the same game, and the ultimate focus is to keep seniors safe and healthy. However, seniors do not wear pendants, they do not wear watches, and quite frankly, the majority of falls happen during the night when you're not wearing these devices anyway. So we really wanted to solve for that problem, to kind of take the technology out of the caregiver and the senior's hand to give a true snapshot of what's happening inside those 4 walls.
And I think one of the cool things about this is I think about my own aging parents and their parents, is that when I tried to give my grandmother a computer, it didn't work out so well, right? When I tried to teach her email, what she struggled with was how to send it because she didn't know what the return key meant. And that's a fair problem, right? Like it's something that I had negligence in instructing her in how to use the product, how to actually execute on something that has become so passively part of my life, but definitely is a new technology for her. So you talk a little bit about the installation process. If I'm looking to buy this product for my parent, one, can I as a consumer buy it or should I go through my insurance broker or carrier? And two, like what does the process of actually getting it up and running look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So first off, we are going to market through senior living insurers. So we're partnering with insurers to potentially, trade data, for access or for the safety metrics.
Okay.
And moreover, the really cool piece is that this is truly a plug-and-play solution.
Mm-hmm.
So the way it would work is we would drop ship the units to the facility or senior care home.
Okay.
And simply installation is screwing in a light bulb. Once you screw in that light bulb, the only other thing you need to do is input what email, phone number of either a loved one,
mm-hmm.
a family physician, or anyone you want to receive those alerts.
Okay. And then passively, that information is also being transmitted to the insurance carrier as well?
Yes, it will go through the insurance carrier, and they will get a snapshot into the performance of those operators.
Okay, wonderful. So it's as easy as screwing in a light bulb. It begs the question, how many, those perennial joke, how many people does it take to screw in a light bulb? Hopefully very simple or accomplishable task. For a insurance carrier, what are some of the core sort of metrics of success that you look to evaluate?
Really claim severity and frequency.
So I feel like this might not only advance the mission of insurance carriers, but really give seniors and their families a lot of information and insight as well.
Absolutely. And to go a step further with that,
mm-hmm.
we really find that the conversations are now changing with SafeLight users.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is when you go see a loved one in a nursing home facility, the conversation isn't, hey, have you been fed today? Did you take your medication? Have you been toileted? It's about, hey, are you going to play bridge later with your friends? Are you going to the movies? I see you slept well last night. That's fantastic. Are you going to read a book? So it's that old communication that you're used to having with a mother or a father. So it really, really helps not only the senior, keeping them healthy and safe, but it helps the families by just giving them a snapshot into that care. And really, truly, by doing this, we want to establish a culture of accountability and trust for all stakeholders. And we feel if we, just look into that and everyone is open and honest about care, then it can be improved in the future. But there's one important thing to note is that you can't improve something that you can't measure. And SafeLight is now measuring these metrics.
Okay. And SafeLight is the technology, the name of the technology, the actual light bulb. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. So if folks want to learn more about SafeLight or the company, which is called CareValidate, where can they go to find some more information?
You can go to www.carevalidate.com, or you can check us out with the rest of the cohort at Startup Bootcamp.
Great. And we're going to link to Jay's LinkedIn, any social media, and obviously the CareValidate website below. So if you're watching this podcast, check out the links below. We'll be able to connect directly to Jay and ask him some more detailed questions. So Jay, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for joining.
Thanks so much. I had a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is Carrie-Anne Nadeau, founder and CEO of ODN. It's been my pleasure today to talk to another co-founder. His name is Jay Pugliese of CareValidate. So check him out. We'll see you next time on Profiles in Risk. Hi, I'm Carrie-Anne Nadeau, founder and CEO of ODN, and we're back with Profiles in Risk. I'm joined right now by Matthew Kay, who runs a company called Talem Health and is participating in the Hartford Insurtech Hub, powered by Startup Bootcamp. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. So you're a first-time podcaster.
First time.
So we're going to knock it out of the park on the first try.
I hope so.
Well, I'm really excited to get to know Talem, particularly because we have a little bit of a commonality in that we both deal with auto accidents. So I'm curious, the way that ODN approaches auto accidents is to prevent crashes. You're actually dealing on the back end of that. Can you tell us a little bit more about where Talem comes into the equation?
Yeah, so really we can't prevent all the accidents and what happens to the person after one happens. And before Talem, I was a physiotherapist.
Wow.
Yeah, so a huge part of my caseload was seeing these types of people. And we struggled to kind of get them back into life and work. And why would the claims go on for so long?
So these are folks that were involved in a car crash.
Correct.
They see injuries like what?
A primary one would be neck injuries, neck, shoulder, low backs.
Okay.
Some of the more severe ones could be nerve damage or fractures and things. But a big percentage is just a neck strain, we'll say.
Sure. And so you sort of saw this problem firsthand. You said there's a lot of folks who come to my clinical environment who take longer than they probably should to get back to work.
Yeah, I've always been like trained to be what's called evidence-based. You have to pick out the treatments that are in literature, and a lot of these timelines and things like that we just wouldn't meet, and I wonder why. And so looking into it further, I was like, why can't we learn from all these accidents and start to build a knowledge base? Because basically all my reports just got locked in a cabinet and we never seen them again. So if we kind of built a knowledge base of how the good treatments went, how the bad treatments went, we would be able to kind of specify these things for those people.
If you were to describe your sort of core value proposition, it sounds like maybe fraud detection is sort of part of that.
Yeah. There would be, we kind of coin fraud on two ways. The provider can be fraudulent because a lot of physiotherapy or chiropractic services, they're fee for service. We get paid for the people that we see. So there is some influence to bring people into the clinic more. And
provide more medical care because you're paid
per treatment.
Interesting. So sort of a perverse incentive there.
Yeah. Most people, I will be completely honest, most people that I've ever dealt with, physiotherapists, chiros, everything, good people, they want to do good for the patient.
Sure.
So not everyone out there is being fraudulent.
Sure.
The where you do hear it is more of the lawyer. And we've heard more anecdotal stories of this over and over of saying you need to like be off work. You need to.
So they're trying to ramp up the value of the claim.
The severity of the claim is linked to a bigger settlement or litigation. So they want your injury to be worse, which isn't good for you, because if you are off work for a long period of time, or you aren't able to go back to your daily activities of living or the gym because you're told you can't do that because you're clean, you're actually getting worse. You know what I mean?
Your physical health is degrading because you're not receiving the proper sort of recuperation strategy.
But you're doing kind of what you're instructed to do by a professional in the area. So it's a tough kind of relationship to have. And there's some people who are just like, no, I want to get better. I don't care what it is. They're great. They're easy to handle. But some people that fall into that mixture, it's and that's where the real tough part of this comes in.
Yeah.
We think the analytics will really help that scenario. So I could, on my laptop or a tablet, come up and show you and say, hey, look, this is, there's, 100,000 people just like you, and they got better at this time. And this is what they did to get better. And we're going to follow this kind of regime, and you're going to get better kind of thing. And people will buy into that expectation, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like there's a number of let's say advisors, whether that's your lawyer, your healthcare provider, your insurance carrier. It can be tough to navigate who to listen to, whose advice is in your best interest, in the best interest of your health and your recuperation. So this sort of fits into that sweet spot of saying, let's let the data drive a few more decisions that we make. And it seems like everyone at the table's sort of aligned in their incentive, right? So I, the person, want to get better. The insurance carrier wants me to get better too, right? So what is your work like with insurance carriers? How can insurance carriers begin working with you?
We are ready. We're fully functional, and we're ready to do a pilot. This is what we're seeking from being in the startup boot camp.
Okay.
So right now, any auto insurer, we will be more than happy to do a pilot with.
Sure.
We also see ourselves as like an adjunct to claims management firms.
Okay.
They offer a lot of services on billing and audit and independent medical exams.
Awesome.
But these things could kind of happen later in the claim. So we feel like we'd be really good at kind of managing the claim right at the beginning. Create that expectation and the proper treatment right at the start.
Right. Instead of sort of muddying the results by coming in the middle, you really want to be at the point of the scene.
Well, it's like the prevention versus cure.
Mm-hmm.
If the claim already goes off the rails, it's pretty hard to bring it back into a smooth process. So if we can kind of smooth that, eliminate some of the hard bits of the claim before it even happens, we think it'll smooth out the claim process.
Sure. Well, it sounds like Talem Health is doing some really fantastic things. And I'm excited to see a pilot emerge where we can begin to put numbers behind the insurance value proposition, because to me, being a person that is very much involved with car crashes and seeing the number of car crashes that occur on the road constantly increasing, about 40,000 people die in car crashes. So it gives you a sense of how big this problem really is. While we manage trying to prevent crashes, I'm glad Talem Health exists to help those who unfortunately are in a situation where shit happens.
Right? Yeah, we're a good mixture.
Yeah, to get better soon. Well, this has been Profiles in Risk with Matthew K. Matthew, where can we find more information about Talem Health?
We're on LinkedIn, and we also have a website at talemhealthanalytics.com.
Great, and that's TALEM health.com. We'll put a link below, so definitely reach out to Matthew to get some more information.
For sure.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
All right, this has been Profiles in Risk. We'll see you next time. Welcome back to Profiles in Risk. This is Carrie-Ann Nadeau, founder and CEO of ODN. I'm joined by another co-founder and COO of See Your Box. This is Frederico Capello. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you.
Welcome. So Federico, you just helped me understand a little bit more about See Your Box. I think the folks on the podcast are really excited to hear about frozen pizzas, inland marine, and the Vatican Museum in this podcast.
Yes,
we're going to weave all those things
maybe
together.
Also Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Well, let's loop him in. Let's start by asking the very basic question. What does See Your Box do?
We provide insight and monitoring about supply chain and logistics, and our client can use those data to better assess risk into the underwriting process and the claim management into the insurance industry, mainly property and casualty and in business line.
Okay, so you're monitoring packages as they move. So you're tracking like FedEx?
No, absolutely. We prefer to say monitoring because tracking is always limited to one parameter, that is position, but we have more than 60 parameters that we actually monitoring, and not only during the transport, but even on the stages where a goods or a product is stored or exposed for a few months. So we basically provide real-time monitoring all across the supply chain into an end-to-end way.
Interesting. So of those 60 variables that you track, can you give us an example, like temperature maybe?
Absolutely. Temperature is one of the physical sensors together with light, shock, sound, humidity, and we, on top of this data, we aggregate all the data and we transmit to a central cloud-based servers unit, which is able to re-elaborate all the data and integrate with external information, such as weather condition in this particular place, or elaborate more data coming from the sensor. So defining that this is a movement, or this is a shock, or this is a capsizing. The sensor is always the same as a technology, but if you put artificial intelligence and you understand what is happening from the data you collect, you may identify some patterns or parameters, and you basically contextualize the data that you collect and you transform in real insight for our client.
Interesting. So you must have had quite a legacy and quite a history of building these models and collecting data to be able to develop those insights. You're just not getting started right now, right?
No, absolutely. Your question remind me about the 2014, where I was basically working into an IoT startups for home automation and wearable, and Marco Toye, which is the CEO and the founder of CRBox, a former McKinsey partner with 15 years of experience in the telco industry, he said to me, look, you're working into the Internet of Things? And I said, yes, we are working into the Internet of Things. You're making it wrong. And he said, what? And the reason is, and
it's
he was
confrontational, was he right?
Absolutely. Was he right? Because most of the startups company, as I were doing in Internet of Things, were just focusing on business to consumer Internet of Things.
Okay.
Give you the example. You can monitor when you go running with your. At the time we had Nike. Now there are Fitbit and Apple Watches. You can monitor your car with some black boxes. You can even monitor your home and any light internal to an home. But things you guess what? Things about 10 billion people having objects connected to the internet. And now things to use the same technology to connect all the 10 billion products, which maybe are leaving only today the seaport of Europe. The possibility to scale the technology, the internet technology, if you focus on the business-to-business side, on the product, on the supply chain, are immense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It almost started B2C, and now what you're saying is the market is maturing to a B2B place. So do you sell to corporates as well?
Let's say that going back to 2014, I left out what I were doing and I joined the CRBox. And CRBox was purely and uniquely focused on business to business.
Okay.
Providing corporate with basically the possibility to have a full vision and visibility of the supply chain.
So this is where the frozen pizza comes into the story, and the Vatican comes into the story.
Yeah, let me say that it was not so quick. We spent the first year and a half closed not into a garage, but basically into a room with the hardware team, the telecommunication team, and the server team to be in collaboration, in partnership with the Catania University to set the first beta of the system. Because we don't only provide the data and the insight, but to collect this data, we had to build the entire platform. And so in 2015, we started with Vatican museums by starting to monitoring some of the most important paintings. One of those is the Trono delle Grazie, which was sent back from Sicily for the restoration.
Wow.
And you guess what? After 4 years, the restoration has finished, and in April, CRBox, together with some partner, will take care to monitor the way back of the paintings to the Caltagirone, Sicily.
Wow. Did it get there safe?
It will get safe, but there is always a line of improvement. One of the main risks about when you think about moving fine arts is that it gets stolen. But in reality, when you have data, you understand that this risk is almost zero. The main risk about painting moving for exhibition is the maintenance. Basically, have some damages caused to shock, but most of the time caused to differences into the humidity and temperature or light exposure that are expected.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, you didn't just stop with the Vatican Museum, you kept going. I want to make sure we loop in the story about frozen pizzas, because I've mentioned it a few times. That seems relevant to track in a similar way as well, right? The pizza has to arrive frozen.
The pizza has to arrive frozen, has to stay frozen into the warehouse where they live, and most important, they are million, and they are a million every day, crossing routes from Europe to US or to Asia. And from an insurance perspective, this, more than the fine arts, is a real goal of having such as information. Because by starting to monitoring products, and I mean products, not mean of transportation, not the entire cargo, but the single pallet of pizza into a sampling case, multiplied for 1 million pizza every day from a single facility, makes you have the real data about what's really happening into an entire cycle for product. And this is what we see here in Hartford is really relevant for business insurance, because the underwriters really have the data about the risk, the real risk about moving and the supply chain of product categories. And basically they can start to make underwriting before waiting for the claim.
Sure.
That drives to a completely a new way to define new product even into the insurance industry.
Yeah, and it's sort of a similar value proposition that's been adopted on the personal line side, right? Like the wearable technologies, there's an insurance play there because performance monitoring over time can anticipate and lead to more prevention rather than just being responsive.
Absolutely.
Where can folks go to find more out about See Your Box?
Well, of course, we are business to business, purely concentrated. So you can find some information about us in our website, follow our blog, and meet at our conference as keynoters or speakers.
Fantastic. This has been Profiles in Risk with Frederico Capello. If you want to learn more about See Your Box, you can visit this website and check out their product, get in touch with their founders, and just explore the potential that tracking and monitoring goods as they move, and the value that can bring to the insurance industry. I think we're only just starting to scratch the surface with See Your Box. So congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, pleasure. This has been Profiles in Risk with Carrie Ann Nadeau. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, welcome back. This is Carrie Ann Nadeau, founder and CEO of ODN, and this is Profiles in Risk. I have a very special guest here with me. His name is Gilberto Spencer. He's also a co-founder and head of product at a company called Claimspace that's doing a lot to integrate kind of all of the components of the claims process, make it much more seamless, integrated, faster. I'll let you talk about the value proposition a little bit more directly, but welcome to the podcast, Gilberto.
Thank you very much.
Oh, wonderful.
Talk about Claimspace.
Excited to talk about Claimspace, excited to talk about claims. So let's talk a little bit more about claims. Let's dive in on that. What does Claimspace do that's new, interesting? Why did you start Claimspace?
I started Claimspace because I used to work at claims department. So I've been both working for large insurance companies and also for third-party administrators.
Okay.
Always focus on medical and disability claims.
Okay.
And these claims can get very complex. I think they're all very sensitive in nature. And it's how we can make it better for customers, because our customers are already dealing with a lot. Have or a lot on their plate at the moment or at the time of the claim, and when they reach out to the insurance company, it's our job to make things easier, better, more transparent, more efficient. And the reality is that the customers don't have some of them don't have all this time to wait. So this is why it's so important.
Yeah, I can imagine horror stories really affecting people's health, their level of, and not just beyond health, injury, but also their perception of their insurance carrier in that moment. So maybe you could talk about a success story where Claimspace does something different than the way that, if I got hurt, I would normally process a claim. What does Claimspace do that's so important?
Well, what's really important is that Claimspace first helps you as a customer to be able to communicate with your insurance company in a more meaningful way, because instead of if you're very distressed, instead of calling up and going through a call center, speaking to a random person, you go directly to whoever is looking after your claim. And what happens is that you usually have a very close relationship with this person. So it's about knowing that this person is there. You avoid all the gatekeepers, and it also gives a lot of empowerment to customer to know where the claim is at, So when people go through, I mean, when you're on the claims department, you will get a lot of inquiries by email and especially phone calls, and they're all from customers wanting to know status of the claim, if you have received some information, why I haven't heard from you in X amount of days or times. But when customers, for example, see that using Claimspace, the insurance companies using Claimspace, the customer can get a notification letting them know that the insurance company today spoke with the doctor. The doctor said that it will take 2 weeks to get the
So it pushes notifications to the customers direct.
So this is one out of the many benefits. The ability to communicate directly with the claims specialist, the ability to know the availability, so we avoid phone tagging back and forth, or email that takes very long time to be responded, and it's great for customer experience because it gives you transparency. The claim process is also can be very technical and full of jargon, which can be hard even for me to understand some products. And for people within the insurance industry, imagine a customer who has not experienced any claims before. So it's about helping them navigate the way through the entire process, hand by hand, being able to visualize the process, setting up expectations. They also, it's better for them to understand the benefits, the requirements, what's missing, what's incomplete, what's holding back the claim, all these sort of things. Because I think the miscommunication can be the root of so many problems that escalate, complaints, litigations, brand reputation. So they all escalate out of a bad claim experience.
Yeah, I'm thinking about being on hold or having to navigate through the press 1 for, press 2 for, right? You've just already elevated all of those feelings of anxiousness and anger, and those aren't feelings that we necessarily want our customers to feel even before they've talked to us and got us on the phone. So it sounds really important.
We all have the same problem, and especially when you work in claims, is we get caught up in admin meaningless tasks that they don't add any value.
Okay.
So instead of they keep us away from actually assisting customers, helping them, because we spend most of the time chasing that information, giving the same updates. And so if we also optimize become better at that, we will have more time to assess customers. And
brilliant.
One thing that I like to highlight, in my personal experience, I've seen a high volume of mental health claims.
Okay.
And people who have these sort of claims, it's really hard for them to hold a conversation on the phone. And I think it's really important that if someone has a claim for depression or anxiety or any other problem that they might be out of work, it's really important that you have another channel to communicate with them.
And thinking about the space that you're actively working in, this is disability, this is property and casualty, where people are experiencing some sort of trauma in that moment. And so for mental health in particular, which is not just a hot topic, but there's increasing awareness around the challenges of better meeting and serving the needs of people in mental health crisis. I think that plays a very important role in making sure that those folks receive the care that they need. Because at the end of the day, claims is definitely writing a check, paying out, but it's for a service, right? So that person can get better or improve or replace the circumstances that they are in.
Yeah, and not only for people who is already claiming for those problems, but I've seen firsthand when a customer might be claiming for, I don't know, something minor like a strain, like a back strain or whatever. At the end of the process, they might end up frustrated, depressed.
The insurance claims process makes them depressed. God.
And there's some studies that show that the claim process can be worse than the condition itself in some cases. So that's why
There's a lot of room for improvement. Well, wonderful. It's been my pleasure to really get to know Claimspace. I'm curious to know if you're wildly successful. I know you're participating in the Hartford Insurtech Hub. You're here to gain connections, to maybe gain introductions, work with carriers. What is it that you need right now that you'd love to work with a partner on?
I think what will be great to have, because this is what we hear, we're bringing Claimspace to the US. We're very excited about it, and what we would love is to take the challenge. We would love to work with insurance companies here, and just we want to also understand your pain points, your needs, and just give us a challenge. Like, this is how are we working? This is our way of doing things, and just we want to come back to them and say, this is the Claimspace way.
Gilberto, it's been a pleasure to have you on Profiles in Risk. Again, if you want more information, actually, where should folks go, Gilberto?
At www.claimspace.io, or shoot me an email to gilberto@claimspace.io.
Okay, we'll put that information in the podcast notes so that you can do just one click and connect with Gilberto directly. Looking forward to seeing the success of Claimspace. And again, this has been Profiles in Risk with Carrie Ann Nadeau and Gilberto Spencer, the co-founder and head of product at Claimspace.
Thank you. I look forward to speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're going to continue the conversation offline. But again, if you guys want to get more information about Claimspace, make sure to click below. Thanks again, Gilberto.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome back to Profiles in Risk. This is Carrie Ann Nadeau, founder and CEO of ODN. I'm joined today by a fellow co-founder. This is Matthew Elan Smith. He is the co-founder of a company called Pineapple. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thrilled to have you here. So Pineapple, to me, is doing something really disruptive in the industry, or really transformative, I should say, in the industry, in terms of introducing a new business model to insurance. So maybe you can start by just talking high level about what Pineapple does and the values that Pineapple has.
Sure. So essentially, Pineapple came about in a way to say, how do we bridge the gap between the way people perceive insurance as almost a grudge purchase, versus what's actually going on behind the scenes? Because behind the scenes, insurance is a very beautiful thing. It's a lot of people coming together to help protect each other. But that message and that narrative and that social aspect, which is core to insurance actually working, has been lost somewhere along the way. We did a survey back in 2017, and we found that 90% of people don't feel that their insurance premium is helping anyone else if they don't claim. Which means
it's just going into a vast void.
Exactly, which means there's a fundamental gap between what's going on and what people think is going on. And that gap is also driving a lot of fraudulent behavior due to people feeling a begrudgment towards this purchase, which kills the value for everyone, including the insurer. So we said, how do we solve the social aspect? And along with that, we were able to create a new product and experiences that really resonate with a younger audience. So making insurance a lot more intuitive to both interact with and to buy and understand.
Yeah, I think there's a trend right now in insurance to be user-focused, have user-centered design. That seems like a core principle of Pineapple. How do you weave in the value of when I pay for insurance, where does my money go? And why should I pay for insurance if it's helping, or if it's going to go somewhere other than helping me directly? So how do you weave that back into the experience?
So what we've done is the whole business model came out of a design thinking approach to insurance. So we sat for 6 months, myself and two co-founders, following design thinking principles to understand where are the pain points of insurance, what is going wrong, and how might we fix it. And as a result, that's where the model came from. So in the Pineapple model, from a user experience point of view, we make getting insurance very easy. So you snap a picture, we use AI in the app to determine what it is you snap a picture of and link it to the correct policy.
Okay.
So if you snap a picture of your dog, we're going to give you pet insurance. Snap a picture
and keep
of your
a picture of a bunch of people's beautiful cute pets in the process.
you can like
Side
them,
benefit.
comment them, snap a picture of your face, health, and life. Our current product, which we launched in South Africa 7 months ago, allows you to snap a picture of your personal property. So whether it's your recording equipment, your laptop, your jewelry, other gadgets, we'll insure it at just the snap of a picture. You put in the price, we give you a premium, and within 20 seconds you're insured. Okay. And that's sort of the user experience. And we've modeled the app very much on the basis of social media apps. Mm-hmm. So it's something that feels very intuitive and easy to interact with. Mm-hmm. But in terms of how do we bring that social element back into insurance, when you pay your premiums in Pineapple, we reflect those premiums in the app in your own Pineapple wallet. So you see exactly the premiums that you're paying going into the wallet, and we show you how your premiums are contributing towards other claims. Mm-hmm. So you'll see 25 cents went off towards helping a claim in this area for a laptop that got stolen. Mm. $1 went off over here for another claim, and perhaps a nice story that's desensitized, of course, but a story around what happened in that claim. Mm-hmm. Because you are helping other people, and at the same time, you're still achieving protection for yourself. And that's what insurance is really about. Mm-hmm. And we also show you the fees that we take off the wallet to run the system. So we perform all the client-facing functions. Mm-hmm. And we partner with an insurance carrier who underwrites each policy and essentially make sure that claims can always be paid. Okay. So they get a margin for doing so, and we show that margin as well. And whatever is left over after fees and those claims contributions, we actually reward back to the user in policy benefits.
Fantastic. So it's sort of a cooperative model. What have you gotten in terms of feedback from the customers? Are they excited to see where their money went?
Yeah, so we launched in South Africa 7 months ago, this initial product, and we've had over 12,000 members already, which we're very impressed with because we've spent very little on marketing. Mm-hmm. And the feedback has been really exciting because for the first time, people are able to see what's happening with the insurance. It doesn't just feel like paying money into this black hole where you're not understanding why you're paying what you pay, where the money's going. And a lot of people have this feeling that insurance should act as almost a savings account, which would completely kill the whole system because you need that diversification of risk to make it all work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it sounds like you did the user research for the application, but you identified sort of a whole new way to make people feel about buying insurance. They feel good knowing where their money went. Now, what about the insurance carriers? Do they like the model where they have a sort of stable, predicted return for each one of their policies that they write?
So there's a couple of benefits for our partner carrier. So we only need one carrier in each country or each region that we go to for each product. And the real benefit is for them, we attract a younger audience. So we're making it really easy for younger people to insure again. So to give you an understanding of that, of our 12,000 members, 85% of them are between the age of 18 and 35, which is an audience that's usually the reverse of what you'd see in the traditional book of insurance. And so from that aspect, you're capturing an audience who are still right at the beginning of their economic journey, with the ability of them interacting through the single interface, which they enjoy, and able to service their other needs throughout that economic journey.
Sure, yeah. So the lifetime value of their policy is actually one you should go after because
Correct.
You can sell them on the next policy that they need, or just be their partner, be their insurance carrier for their life, right, in the journey that their life takes. It's a beautiful idea. I feel like you're spot on in saying that it resonates with millennials who think differently about insurance and seizes a moment to reposition insurance as an important, valuable societal good. And I'm thrilled to see your success at Pineapple. So where can folks who want to follow your journey or work with you in a new territory go for more information?
Sure. So they're welcome to email me at matthew@pineapple.co.za.
Okay.
We also are very active on Instagram, so handle is pineapple_SA.
Awesome. So are there pictures of people's puppies on Instagram?
So it's more pictures of us and perhaps our puppies.
Oh, maybe we should put some more puppies on there.
And yeah, check out our website, Google us,
Fantastic. Well, we're going to put all that information, the Instagram handle, your email, your website right below, so you can check out the podcast notes if you want to be in touch with Matthew. But again, thank you, Matthew, for joining us. Matthew, the CEO of Pineapple.
Thanks a lot for having me. You're actually welcome. The first person who hasn't asked why the name Pineapple in the podcast before.
Should I? Is it an interesting story?
I hope so. I don't know.
Tune in next time. No, what is the story of Pineapple?
So the way we came up with the name was actually what a lot of people don't realize is that pineapple isn't a single fruit. So each of those little knobs on a pineapple is actually an individual berry from the tree, and they come together in the structure to help make sure that they can all make it to the ground.
Love it. It's like a socialist fruit.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, I learned something today, not only about Pineapple the company, but Pineapple the food as well.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you again for joining us. I'm excited to see your success, like I mentioned, and hopefully the folks tuning into the podcast enjoyed this podcast again. This is Carrie Ann Nadeau along with Matthew Elan Smith of Pineapple. Thanks for joining.
Thanks a lot.
See you next time. Welcome back. This is Profiles in Risk with your host, Carrie Ann Nadeau, founder and CEO of ODN. I'm joined today by a fellow CEO. This is Abraham Ventura of PitchGauge. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a wonderful day to have you. Now, PitchGauge is just something really interesting, something I don't know a lot about, so I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot on this podcast, and that's you focus on roofs of homes. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. We sure do.
And so where did you build such a fascination? You built a whole company around homes and roofs of homes. Where did that fascination start?
Sure, yeah. Well, it started in 2008 when Hurricane Gustav hit. And a friend of mine owned a roofing company. And, he asked me to come join them to help him out and help people restore it. So I went down to Louisiana, and I had no idea anything about roofing. I got familiar with the industry. I met adjusters. I spoke to a lot of people. And I just thought of the idea, hey, this is needed.
So you got on roofs,
yeah,
and you started to learn about roofs. What was the thing that was most needed? Where did you see that there was a gap in the market that a solution like PitchGauge would fill?
Sure. Well, there was climbing a roof is very dangerous. You got roofs that are steep, very 12-12. That's 45 degrees. If you're standing on
12-12, what's that?
So 12-12 is a way to measure a pitch. So a roof could be measured in 12-12 slopes or in degrees. And 12-12 is basically a roof slope of 45 degrees. And if you're standing on that, and especially if the roof is damaged, pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I'd imagine you'd have to be like attached to the roof in some way at that point.
You should have a rope, yes.
Wow, okay. So when there's these extreme pitches and it's really dangerous to get up on the roof, what goes wrong in the market, or what can you fix?
Well, the insurance adjuster has to climb the roof to capture the measurements in order to give the homeowner a price, how much it costs to replace it. Mm-hmm. And then they would issue them a check. Well, the insurance adjusters, when they climb up there, all they have is measuring tape and a ladder. And that's pretty scary.
A rope, hopefully.
Yeah, and hopefully a rope, yeah. So they go up there, they capture those measurements, and they come back down in the old way, with the measuring tape. But now with PitchGauge, they don't even have to climb the roof. They pull up to the property, they zoom in with their Google Maps or their drone images, and they can trace the roof with their fingers in just a fraction of a second. So
wow.
Something that would have taken 2 hours could take them 10 minutes now.
Wow. So your technology is actually an application that's helping take digital measurements of rooftops. Is it real time? So Google Maps is a little outdated, but I guess roof structures don't change that often. But
sure, right. Yep. You can get away with Google Maps, and if you need something current, you can use a drone and just import the image right into it. So
I see. So a drone would be able to capture maybe if there was hail or a tree fell, what the damage looks like?
Exactly, yes.
Fascinating. So you're putting your technology into the hands of insurance adjusters. What are you seeing the benefits will be, or that they will be, when that information is transmitted back to the carrier?
Sure. Well, number one is efficiency. No longer they have to spend 2 hours on the roof. It's 5 minutes. So they can basically do double the amount of claims. So before they were doing 3 claims, now they can do 6 because they don't have to climb the roof. it takes them just a fraction of the time to issue the report to the homeowner.
Interesting. And are you getting more accurate estimates as well? Have you been able to measure that?
You are. You're getting very accurate measurements. Google and aerial images get used often for capturing measurements. And we've gotten very accurate measurements. We've had customers tell us they were within 3 inches and they were 20 miles away measuring.
Wow.
So very accurate.
Now you know a lot about roofs. You started knowing very little about roofs. Now I feel like you're the expert in roofs.
Yes, that feels so.
Fantastic. Well, I know you're participating in the Hartford Insurtech Hub powered by Startup Bootcamp. You're one of maybe 10 companies that are participating in 2019. So this is a very prestigious honor. It puts you in a position to leverage this and really enter the insurance market with a bang. What are you hoping to get out of the experience? Like, what happens when Pitch Gauge is super successful?
Sure. Well, let me just say first that, working with Startup Bootcamp experience has been great. We've met so many people. It's like we're moving at lightning speed compared to, when we were back home in Georgia. So working with them has been really great, very resourceful. And we feel that at the end of this, we're going to get a good pilot program with insurance companies or a partnership with somebody. I feel like this program was the right thing for our company to do.
Yep, and to put your product in the hands of more insurance adjusters.
Exactly. Yes.
Fantastic. So if I'm a carrier that has insurance adjusters, I'm trying to figure out how to improve the speed and the accuracy of assessing damage to roofs. How do I get a hold of you?
Sure. Well, it's very easily. You can reach us at. You can go to our website, pitchgauge.com, or you can reach me at aventura@pitchgauge.com, and I'll reach right back out to you.
Great. Well, we're going to copy that information below, so it's as simple as one click to get in touch with Abraham. Abraham, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we'll hopefully have you back soon. Again, this is Profiles in Risk with Carrie Ann Nadeau and Abraham Ventura, the CEO of Pitch Gauge. We'll see you next time. Welcome back. This is Profiles in Risk with Carrie Ann Nadeau, founder and CEO of ODN. I'm joined today by a fantastic founder as well, actually co-founder and chief commercial officer of handdii. This is Charlie Robinson. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Carrie Ann.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charlie's joining us from across the oceans in Australia. handdii is an Australian-based company here participating in the Hartford Insurtech Hub powered by Startup Bootcamp. Welcome to the United States and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's delightful to be here.
All right. Well, I think we're going to have a lot of really interesting things to talk about. One, first and foremost, I appreciate the branding of the bright yellow vest. You will not be able to forget Charlie after this podcast. He's the guy that's making himself seen and heard. But it's important because what you're working on is actually property claims. So when things go wrong and things get damaged, how do we fix them? Maybe you could give us a big introduction to, or maybe you could give us an introduction to handdii.
That more than happy to and delighted to. So to tie off the vest, so to speak, the vest is a function of exactly that. We are a property claims company that works in the Insurtech space, and if you've ever been on a construction site, you'll notice that for safety reasons, high-vis is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
So, we want to work really closely with those subcontractors to help deliver a great experience for the customer, being the policyholder, as well as the insurance company. So, very much in line with our ethos. So, what does handdii actually do? handdii is a business that really looks to make the process of delivering a property claims seamless, friction-free, and a really great experience for the insurer, for the policyholder, and the subcontractor who's delivering that work for both the policyholder and the insurer. That's it in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Well, I think I wanted to mention explicitly that you're coming over from Australia because I think a lot of insurance innovation comes from folks outside of the industry or outside of the U.S. market. And what you're doing is really taking the way it works in Australia and saying, the rules we operate by, the terms that we set for the insurance industry in the United States, we can actually innovate that. Not necessarily, claims has been around forever and claims will always be around, but can we take a different model? Can we look at this differently? Can we take a different approach? So maybe you could start by talking us through sort of what it's like in Australia and how you're adapting and modifying that for a US market.
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the really interesting things that we found coming over here is that that difference between the markets, and that's, that difference is beautiful in a lot of ways. But principally in Australia, we always do fulfillment. If you have a water leak and it's verified that it's an insurance claim, the insurer manages that process for you. They organise for the plumber and all the required subcontractors to come out, and if it's been a bad leak and you've got to replace some floorboards or there's some painting, that is a process that's managed by the insurers. So we have a long history in Australia of managing that process and that as a way of claims fulfillment. In the US, there's this other option which is far more frequent, which is cash settlement, where effectively it's the same process, but the second half, the actual, the insurer pays in cash settlement the policy holder an amount of cash that they negotiate as fair value for the amount of money that's required to complete that work. And then the person is actually then responsible for delivering that claim, for project managing that claim. And all we're doing really is taking our learnings from an industry that's been doing it as an exclusive activity for a long period of time now, and bringing some of that expertise to the US to simply see as, would as an industry that, whose policyholders are younger and maybe have a different set of expectations, and the millennials seem to like things on demand. Maybe that's something that the US market might be interested in.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking about people my age, and I'm 32. People my age buying a home for the first time, who may not know where to go to find a contractor. A tree falls on your house, or there's a bad hailstorm. It seems like a really inefficient process that I would want sort of concierge service to help me navigate.
Really, the philosophy is with the US market is, let's see if we can help insurance carriers evolve their customer service to meet the needs. And
interesting. So with the cash settlement approach, like if there was a transformation where you no longer put cash in my hand to fix my own roof, how else, we could offer the service. So do the carriers then bring in their own subcontractors? Do the carriers have relationships then that help to organize the repair? And what does that mean for the insurance industry? How might that change the future of insurance?
So I think one of the interesting things that you can do as an insurance company sort of holistically is that by offering a service like this, you get the ability to develop a really personal relationship with your customers. When they trust you enough to allow you to organize that repair for them, there's a huge loyalty there. And if you know that you might be away or traveling and something happens to your house, and you need something fixed, and you can just pick up the phone to an insurance carrier, that's a pretty good sign of intent from a behavioural point of view for that customer. And that, I think that would, there's some obvious advantages. If you're a nerd on customer acquisition and all things customer acquisition cost, that there would appear to be some benefits there. But certainly, we've really built this product. Some context is my two co-founders, Catherine Wood and Christy Downs, have a very long experience in the insurance industry. And before I was lucky enough to meet Christy at a conference, they had already spent I think they'd interviewed 250 contractors. They'd worked. Catherine was a head of claims for a large head of claims division for a large business insurance carrier in Australia. So they knew the problem intimately, and they'd done a lot of work around pain points and how do we remove all of that. So and that led to a philosophy of there's got to be a way that we can incentivize the human behaviour to make, if everyone acts in their own best interest, it actually rewards everyone else. So that focus on customer being really, we view having three customers, insurance carriers whose problems are particularly in Australia, and I think is unfortunately the Arctic winters in Chicago and the hurricanes in Florida and the unfortunate tragic bushfires in California have illustrated that the claims costs in property are rising. So we sort of worked out, well, how do we help insurers take some cost out of their business? And a big part of that was, well, there's friction in there that doesn't need to be there. And then we looked at what the customer experience was, and they said, like, one thing the customers came back to us is like, oh, we'd love to just know a little earlier, a sense of connectedness and transparency on the process. And for subcontractors, it's quite compelling in the sense that you're offering a recession-proof line of business. Insurers, the way the platform works is that if they do a really good job on providing customer service, we're not asking them to guarantee their workers just courteous, don't clean up after yourself. Some really simple, arguably just good business development tools. The insurance carrier agrees to provide some fantastic payment terms. So again, it's what we've done is create an ecosystem where everyone acts in their own best interest, and it's sort of everyone wins out of it.
You mentioned sort of offhandedly, but I think it's a very strong point, that if they were to provide the payments directly to the contractors, that they could negotiate the price. And if you're dealing in volume, actually there may be a lot of cost savings that come from bringing in the roofer.
Yeah, I mean, you're entering into, when before I was at handdii, I was an investor, and I spent a lot of time looking at early stage ideas. So really what got me to put my hand up and say, actually, this is the one that I really want to be involved in, the one that I think has huge legs, is exactly what you've just hit on. It's, there's the initial proposition around customer service, but certainly from an insurance carrier point of view, the more it's sort of this wonderful relationship, whereas as that trust builds, you get access around, you get more. I mean, if we think about what insurance is, it is naturally a data-heavy industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole system is built on a underwriting model that is basically built on statistics.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting part is the claims, they don't have a huge transparency on claims when you cash settle. And certainly in Australia, one of the big advantages of introducing transparency from an insurer's point of view is it allows you to all of a sudden see at a level of detail which allows you to potentially implement a whole bunch of business improvement. Something as simple as, I know how much white paint versus blue paint. And the immediate one is obviously like, well, that's just business improvement, right? Let's just do a sales volume discount on that front.
Sure.
And then you can go all the way down the line and say, well, in 2 or 3 times, it feeds actually, once you know where your claims are at a granular level, you can start potentially doing something as active, if you wanted to, as preventative maintenance. So you would be able to identify in real time that all these pipes you installed, and this is a purely theoretical argument, but if there was a building code regulation change, and 5 years ago, and then all of a sudden you start getting all these pipes just breaking in this one area that then leak into the foundations of a house, and you've got to re-stump an entire house. You can get ahead of that. If you go, holy, there's five of these pipes that have coincidentally broken at 5 years ahead of schedule. We've installed another 10,000 of these. It might be substantially at our advantage to get ahead of the curve here and take a proactive stance. And again, that's the world you start to get into. And
and it sounds like, as a co-founder, I can really deeply appreciate the enthusiasm of like, and we do this, and then we do this, and then it could lead to this entire transformational change. And I think the insurance industry could stand to not only think like that a little bit more, but also just be receptive to hearing like the 3 to 4 contingency steps down the road, so that we have a vision when things do start to change, when companies like handdii start to be more successful here in the United States, that we know where it's going. We can see why we're doing this beyond just the immediate implementation. I think it gives us a vision for much further down the road.
One of the beautiful things about working with insurance carriers is that once they've decided to work with you, they are long-term partners, right? They work so hard to make sure that you're the right one for them, and then that you do get the opportunity to work with them to solve a number of issues, right? So you might start in this small part of the organization, but as you grow, and these are organizations which are so big, it's not sort of like a B2C where you pay $1 to download a business or 10 cents per click. The material revenue for each major client you can onboard allows you to work collaboratively with them and develop solutions, potentially for a range of their issues,
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. And I think perhaps should be part of the evaluation methodology of insurance carriers as they think about onboarding new insurance technology companies. What more, do you believe in the founder, that the founder is more than one idea?
Yeah.
That the founder can be resilient through the first idea, whether it wins or whether it loses, and help my company evolve in a direction that I can move much faster by working with that startup founder. So with that, I just think that's a perfect end to this podcast. We've gone a little bit over, but it's been a fascinating conversation.
I'm glad I was somewhat interested.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you show up with a bright yellow vest. I've got a lot of questions from the jump. Again, this was Charlie Robinson. He is the co-founder and chief commercial officer of handdii. You can check out his information. We're going to copy his email, his LinkedIn, all of his contact information below. But if folks want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Best way is charlie@handdii.com. The unfortunate thing is it is handy, HANDDII.com.
handdii.com. That makes phonetical sense.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Well, wonderful. Charlie, it's been a fantastic interview. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. Again, this has been Profiles in Risk, and we'll see you next time. Adios. Welcome back. This is Profiles in Risk with Carrie-Anne Nadeau, the founder and CEO of ODN. I'm joined by a very special guest and participant in the Hartford Insurtech Hub, powered by Startup Bootcamp. This is Ori Blumenthal. Ori is the CTO and co-founder of Skywatch AI. So I'm getting really excited to talk about AI and talk about all of the sort of new innovative things that can be done in this space. It sounds like you have a relatively innovative product. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for having me, Carrie-Anne. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here, and it's always nice to meet new people. So yeah, I'm the CTO at Skywatch AI, and we've developed an end-to-end Insurtech platform enabling new products to market that are data-driven, on-demand, and flexible.
Mm-hmm.
We actually specialized on specialized mobility products. You can imagine anything you can ride, sail, fly, or whatnot.
Awesome, or some combination of thereof, right? So
yes.
Flying boats, we might insure. No, but you're saying
why not?
Boats, you're saying micromobility solutions, you're saying drones. Like, give me an example of what you mean by this sort of specialized category.
Sure. So let me start with saying that our first product is live and sold successfully across the US, and that is drone insurance. Again, something you can fly.
Personal drone insurance or commercial drone insurance?
So both, but we focus on commercial operators that need that insurance for their business.
Okay.
And this is, as I said, sold successfully. Very nice. It's a thrilling market, growing market, but the tech behind that platform can be applied to more cool stuff. So that could be power sports, ATVs, micromobility. You mentioned that, but that's a booming industry.
Absolutely.
Definitely on our radar.
So it's sort of these new technologies introduced into the modern world. Insurance carriers might have some trouble understanding the risk. Is that where you specialize?
Exactly. And I think our sweet spot is everything that has episodic usage in combination of a very varying risk. So meaning that according to the specific rider or pilot or whatnot, so this specific individual has a great effect on the risk and the timing and everything else.
So this is like, I'm a prop plane pilot. I'm not always in the air. I'm not flying a commercial jet. It's episodic, meaning like I'm going to go every Saturday and fly my plane. But you said the risk varies. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so first of all, yes, I'm going to fly every other Saturday, for example, with my manned aircraft, for example. But then the person I am affects the risk a lot, but more than that, the weather, the visibility, and all those kind of things that are unique to this point of time. So every other Saturday doesn't have the same weather, visibility, winds, or whatnot, and this affects the risk greatly.
So you are taking real-time information then and pricing on demand in real time?
Correct. Dynamic pricing. That's
Wow.
the way to go.
So are there competitors in this space? Are there people that you see as competing here?
Yes, there are a bunch of other companies, specifically in the drone space. There are several companies doing drone insurance, and in other products, there are a few that are looking into similar areas as we do.
Okay. It seems really like a thrilling market that a lot of people might want to get into. So what makes you and positions your company specifically to succeed?
So the founders and most of the company, we come from a tech background.
Mm-hmm.
So our tech and AI is really strong. I think we thrive on that. And so we like to say that we're tech geeks that mastered insurance.
I like it. And I think insurance could probably use more of that outside influence where you learned insurance, the ins and outs and how your product fit into it, but you're really focused on creating a quality product as well.
Exactly. I think that the tech enables this quality product. And as I said, it's an end-to-end solution. So starting from the underwriting and the data to the policy administration system that we've built specifically to be highly flexible and quick and reliable. And then lastly, a smart distribution with APIs and other white labeling options and more and more.
Awesome. Well, I know you're participating in 2019 as one of only a handful or two handfuls of select companies that are in the Hartford Insurtech Hub. What are you hoping to get out of this experience?
So first of all, this is a great opportunity for us, and it's a very vibrant atmosphere and a lot of interesting people such as you come by. And I think that we are now looking for innovative carriers to help us bring new products to market. Mm-hmm. So anyone interested, feel free to reach me out.
So these are carriers that may not provide insurance today for micromobility solutions, drones, sailboats. I think you said anything that rides, flies, or sails.
That's correct.
Okay.
So I would say anyone that doesn't provide it or wants to provide it in a smarter and better way. So we see interest from, for example, companies that that sell boat insurance, for example, but are interested in making it better.
Mm-hmm. Well, fantastic. Where can they reach you if they're interested?
Sure, just feel free to email me at Ori@Skywatch AI.
Skywatch AI. I love the name. Well, this has been Profiles in Risk with Ori Blumenthal. You can get his contact information below. Connect with him on LinkedIn. Shoot him a note. Ask for more information. See if you can't test out his product. It sounds really cool and relevant as new technologies are entering the modern world. We're going to need to figure out how to insure them and insure them profitably. So thank you for doing the hard work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been Profiles in Risk. Thanks for joining us. See you soon. Welcome back to Profiles in Risk. This is Carrie-Anne Nadeau, founder and CEO of ODN. I'm joined today by Anant Tailor. He happens to be the co-founder of a great company called Dream Payments. He's also the chief commercial officer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to learn more about Dream Payments. I think they're doing something really interesting to take what was a very antiquated way of making payments on claims and bringing that into the 21st century. So can you share with us how you think you're modernizing that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just start with an interesting stat, right? So in the US alone, over $350 billion worth of claims payments go out each year using checks.
Like a paper with a pen and I sign my signature.
Exactly. And then it goes in the mail, delivered by post, received by the recipient, who then has to deposit that check at a bank. Mm-hmm. And then, or I guess through a mobile app. But mm-hmm. by the time those funds become available to the person, it could be days or even weeks. Mm-hmm. And so, as you can imagine, in the case of an insurance claim where you have an incident, a loss that happens, you want to receive those funds as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. And so, receiving a check doesn't really hit that criteria for you in terms mm-hmm. of being able to use those funds quickly. So, what we're doing is we're helping insurance companies to boost customer satisfaction by delivering the payment to the customer more quickly, in many cases within minutes or within a day or two.
Wow. So how do you do that? It sounds like a digital platform. You connect maybe, what do you connect? For whose bank account to whose bank account does money flow?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have partnerships with banks here in the U.S. as well as in Canada. So we are, so just to start off, going back a second, we are a Canadian-based company. We were founded about 5 years ago, and we pivoted to the insurance company in the last year and a half because we noticed that there's this huge problem with check-based payments. So what we're doing is we're connected with banks both in Canada and here in the U.S. and we have a partnership with MasterCard that enables us to take the funds from an insurance company's bank account and deliver it to a recipient within minutes, as I mentioned, to the destination of their choice, whether it be a bank account or a debit card or to a wallet, like such as PayPal.
So let me understand, is this a consumer app? Like, would I download it on my phone, or would the carrier work with me to connect the funds?
No, it's another good question, right? So we work directly with the insurance company.
Okay.
We provide them with a platform which consists of APIs, or we also have some web-based portals that they can white label and use out of the box.
Perfect.
So they can get up and running quickly. They can use our technology to integrate, and they would be able to use the APIs to then enable the recipient to come into their portal, choose where they want the funds to go, and then be able to deliver those funds.
And get their money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit more about customer success and what that means for you. It seems like the value you're providing to the insurance industry is really a modernization function, a convenience function, a customer satisfaction function. What are some of the success stories that you've experienced thus far?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So in terms of modernization, I think you're correct there, right? Many insurers now, when you look at the customer base is changing quite quickly. Many of their customers are expecting payments to essentially flow seamlessly, right? If you look at the demographic, a lot of them haven't really dealt with checks in the past, and they really expect that, hey, I'm going to be able to get these funds quickly or through some digital type of means. And so when you think about that, it's about customer satisfaction. It's also about customer expectation, right? That is changing. And so it's the end part of the process where the customer has an incident and they want to receive their funds. But it's also about being able to offer new products. So there's a lot of new on-demand type of insurance products that are coming about. And you can't really support those without being able to support payment that happens immediately as well. So being able to turn on and off those sort of insurance products quickly, you have to have payment rails that support that. And so it's about that aspect as well.
That's really great. I feel like there's a number of Insurtech companies that are making a name for themselves in the space, but you're saying, look, we're actually facilitating the success of a number of the system of supplying cash to fulfill claims, right? So you mentioned a white label application. That, I think, is an interesting space because it's not saying Dream Payments is out front and saying Dream Payments is really here to see your success and facilitate your success.
Exactly. And I think I'll just add one other point there is that when you think of it as an insurance company, they really want to be focused on providing peace of mind to their customers. They don't want to be focused on, hey, how do I build out a payment system and how do I keep it current? And with all these new payment technologies that are becoming available, I need to continue to think about that and invest in it. So with that, they're able to integrate to our hub one time. In Dream Payments, we take care of all the various payment rails on the back end. So if a new rail is added tomorrow, then we're integrating to that, and then they can take advantage of that. So it's the ability for them to take advantage of all these new payment technologies that come available, and then at the same time, not having to hold that sensitive data in their systems. So we encrypt and we store all the payment data and keep it private and secure so that they don't have to worry about that information being inside their networks as well.
Absolutely. There's a lot of very good value propositions.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're Canadian-based, but you're here in Hartford. So you're participating in the Hartford Insurtech Hub sponsored by or partnering with Startup Bootcamp.
Right.
What are you hoping to get out of this experience? Seems like there's about 10 companies that are really hand-selected for their market position in the moment in claims right now. This is a hot issue of making sure that claims are paid in a modern and customer-friendly way. What are you hoping to get out of this experience right now?
Yeah, no, so with the accelerator, what we found really attractive about it was that it's based here in Hartford, where there are a number of large insurance companies, so it's a perfect spot to be when you are serving the insurance industry or hoping to serve them. And then on top of that, the group of mentors that are associated with the program are also fantastic. So for us, it's really about two areas. One is to be able to start meeting some of the insurance companies, get a dialogue going, get some product validation, then having access to the mentors, which also provides some of that. And then we are also raising investment, so being able to access investors, again, through the same network. And also to be, on demo day, be able to kind of present what we're doing, what we've accomplished, and hopefully, either attract some customers or new investors.
Yeah, that's a really great point that we haven't mentioned yet. April 26th, I think, is demo day.
Exactly, yeah.
All 10 companies are going to present their value proposition, what they've learned in terms of interacting with customers and being able to move some of their products into pilot stage, hopefully with some of the carriers here in Hartford or beyond. So if folks want to get in touch, they can certainly come to Demo Day on April 26th, but how else can they reach you, Anant?
Yep, so they can reach us through our website, dreampayments.com, as well as my email. Should I provide that?
We can put a link,
Okay,
or you can provide it now.
Okay, well, link would be better. It might be easier.
Okay, then that way, one click away from contacting Anant by
Exactly.
email address. Wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I wish you all the best of luck and
Great.
success at Dream
Thanks so
Payments.
much. It's a
Pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. This has been Carrie-Anne Nadeau, founder and CEO of ODN, and this has been Profiles in Risk with Anant Tailor, the co-founder and chief commercial officer of Dream Payments. Check out his information below, and we'll see you next time.